I think the climate change coverage not only has been getting bigger, I mean, you see it more and more. You see now front page stories in the major newspapers about climate change, where maybe 5 or 10 years ago, that might have been one time per year. Now it's a lot more. And obviously we're seeing a lot more extreme weather and kind of climate disasters happening. But I think the biggest change is also integrating climate change coverage into every single beat, a lot like we saw during the pandemic. If you were reporting on entertainment or sports, you had to be reporting on COVID-19 as well. And that's kind of happening now with climate change, where if you're a business reporter, if you're a political reporter, climate change is all of a sudden part of your beats because it's affecting the way that politics are happening, it's affecting the economy, it's affecting energy. So that I think is the biggest change, and that's also going to be the biggest challenge for a lot of journalists, is making sure that you're up on the climate beat no matter what you're covering, because it can change everything. It's only going to get more important as we keep going this decade and in the years to come. It's been such a difficult year. 2023, I mean, we've seen so many extreme weather events. We've seen so much tragedy. Thousands of people dying in different events. In Libya, it was such a terrible disaster there. That was partially fueled by climate change. I think it's been a difficult year. I think it's been a traumatic year. I think a lot of people that are paying attention, reading the newspapers, watching television, they're seeing firsthand, they're seeing the climate crisis maybe for the first time starting to unfold, starting to hit their communities, their cities, their countries. Very few corners of the world have been unaffected. I think the statistic is 98% of the population of the globe experienced abnormal temperatures in 2023. So it's been pretty difficult to ignore. And just by watching the news media, it's been there, and those images, it's hard to turn away. Communicating climate change is a challenge because it can end up being a lot of doom and gloom. It's not always good news. It's important news, and we have to report on what's going on. But it's easy for people to tune out, and you call it news avoidance. You hear it a lot, and people saying, oh, I'm too depressed, I can't read that. My anxiety level is already too high, I don't want to engage with that. So the challenge becomes, how do you make sure you report on this important topic, but make sure people are paying attention? Part of that can be also lifting up the positive sides of it, the amazing transformation we've seen in terms of energy, the amazing efforts of young people that are out there protesting and advocating for change. We also look at 3 different ways that you can really try to target your coverage. So one is about people's wallets, the climate change. People are worried about how it might affect their economy, it might affect their jobs. So that's one way to make sure you can use that lens to cover climate change. Weather, I mean, extreme weather has just been hitting us so hard, and those images and those video, people really engage with that. And then the third W is wonder. So if you look at climate documentaries, nature documentaries, it's almost a soothing thing. Engaging with nature and just remembering what a beautiful planet we have. That's a third way you can try to fold it in, and it doesn't all end up being about the doom and the gloom and the bad news surrounding climate change. Climate change is one of those subjects that affects everybody. So being able to have events where you bring together politicians, stakeholders, corporations, advocates, young people, old people, doesn't matter, but bringing them into a room and discussing it is incredibly important. I think this year at Climate Week in New York, we've been seeing a bit of a shift where those discussions are still happening, but the tone is a bit different, and people want action. They want discussions, but they also want action. So I think going forward in these kinds of events, bringing people together so that they can be in the same room and come out with some concrete ideas and concrete steps to tackle the climate crisis, that will be all the more important as we keep going in the years to come.